Hello, everybody. Come here, puppies. Bring this down. Hey everybody, welcome back to Bright Minded Live with Miley. Still getting set up for the morning. I'm super excited about this show. I have some new friends and some old friends, so I'm really excited about today's episode. Wait for everybody to log on. Come here, Bo. Oh, it's not enough. So without the co-host. All right. So hey everybody, welcome back to Bright Minded Live with Miley. As you all know, we've been highlighting heroes this week, and I'm so excited about today's episode. We have some amazing people, all women by the way, so this is a special episode of Women Wednesday who have dedicated their careers to serving vulnerable communities and are working extra hard during this time of need. Speaking of women, come here, Beans. Yeah, Bo, you're kicked to the curb. Today is about Beans. Hi, Beans. Good morning. You can hang out too. We don't discriminate. All right. So before I introduce our community champions on the show today, I wanted to share some more heroes that y'all have submitted. Our first submission is from Kiva, who wrote, "My local hero is my mom. She is a nurse at a nursing home and she works night shifts 5 to 6 days a week. And I really appreciate her hard work and all that she's doing during this time." Kiva, thank your mom from me and for taking care of our seniors, especially right now, which is so important. This one really meant a lot to me because so many of us have relatives like my grandma's in senior living also, and we're worried about those that we love, and knowing that they're being taken care of just gives me a lot of peace. And our next one is from Emily, who wanted to give a shout out to all her coworkers at North Main Street Vet Clinic. Times have been super crazy, but we have all been working so hard to continue caring for our community's beloved dogs and cats. Thank you, Emily. Thank you on behalf of Bo and Bean. You know how much I love my animals, and during this time, I know that every pet who you have served has a family who is super grateful for you, so thank you. Last one for today is from Royson, who named her coworkers Sky, Janet, and Karen, who work on the front lines daily with customers and money. It can be stressful, but I'm glad I have a group of coworkers who can help make a gloomy day brighter for me and customers alike. Thank you guys for all the frontline workers who are keeping each other and all of us positive and bright-minded. And with these local heroes to set us up, let's get in today's show. So we'll be talking with people that I think of as heroes and community champions about the impact of COVID-19 and some of the most at-risk populations and communities, talking about this specific needs and how we can also make a difference. So our first guest, Tia Oros-Peter, CEO of 7th Generation Fund for Indigenous Peoples. She is the CEO of 7th Generation Fund for Indigenous Peoples, which is a nonprofit organization fighting for Indigenous communities, not just in America, but around the world. Tia holds a BA in Law and Society from UC Santa Barbara and an MFA in Creative Writing from Antioch University, and is a mother, grandmother, writer, and cultural artist. Tia is committed to Indigenous people's self-determination and liberation from settler through grassroots empowerment and action. The 7th Generation Fund for Indigenous People also works to secure Native people's access to clean water, healthcare, healthy food, and more. Basic human rights to many Indigenous people still lack consistent access to. Okay, Bo, you gotta go. All right, so it is time to connect Tia. We're back. Sorry guys, I was having a little, bright-minded in our tech difficulties. So we're back, and I want to just reintroduce, just for anyone that's just now logging on and watching Bright Minded, reintroduce my first guest, Tia Oros Peters, CEO of Seventh Generation Fund for Indigenous Peoples. Tia Oros Peters is the CEO of the Seventh Generation Fund for Indigenous Peoples, which is a nonprofit organization fighting for Indigenous communities, not just in America, but around the world. Tia holds a BA in Law and Society from UC Santa Barbara and an MFA in Creative Writing from Antioch University, and is a mother, grandmother, writer, and cultural artist. Tia is committed to Indigenous people's self-determination and liberation from settler colonialism through grassroots empowerment and action. The Seventh Generation Fund for Indigenous Peoples also works to secure Native peoples access to clean water, health care, healthy food, and more. Basic human rights which too many Indigenous peoples still lack consistent access to. So I'm excited to connect Tia, and I want to thank her so much for taking her time to be on Bright Minded.
Hey.
Hi, Tia.
Hi, how are you?
Good. Thank you so much for being on Bright Minded. Sorry I cut off there a little bit before. I have a new puppy. I'm sure you can see here. I'll show you my puppy. Oh, come here. He's a baby.
Oh,
But
nice.
he's not really so much of a baby. He's like, we were told that he was actually older than he was. I just found out he was younger because he's a rescue, so we didn't have exact age, but he is like 35 pounds and maybe like 15, 16 weeks old. So he is massive. But as I was doing your introduction, he was using my hand as a chew toy. So I couldn't.
Well, if we get a moment, I'll have to show you my kitty who's sitting right next to me, Stella. So
I have some kitties also. I have my like proudest achievement of being a mother of animals is getting the dogs and my cats to coexist because they really love each other. It's so funny. And especially my pit bull and my cats, because ever since my cat was just like a baby kitty, my pit bull, who was also a rescue, but I think she could have had puppies at some time in her life, really loves like mothering all the animals. So she like mothers any animal we bring in here, including the cat. So it's super, super cute. But he is going to be biting me the entire time.
nice.
I want to thank you so much for taking time for being on the show. I'm really excited and honored to learn more about the work that you do at the Seventh Generation Fund. And it's just an honor that you took your time. From what I understand, this work is deeply rooted in culture and tradition. So I'm curious to learn more about the roots of the Seventh Generation Fund for Indigenous peoples, and how did your organization get started, and what are some of the origins of the nonprofit's name?
Oh, thank you. I like to tell this story because we emerged out of the grassroots. We were just a really little grassroots organization that came out of the movement building of the 60s and 70s. And Indigenous leaders traveled all over the Indigenous world. It was called the White Roots of Peace Caravan, and they visited Native communities. At this time when people all over the world, and certainly in the US, so-called US, were all, power movements. There was, women's rights, civil rights, brown power movements, all these different power movements. Elders and leaders and young people that traveled to these communities, they said, let's find out what our people want. And in these visits throughout the Indigenous world, they found out we may not want exactly what all the other communities are talking about. A piece of the American pie, the American dream that has been delivered to us over these years. Let's reflect on this. Maybe we want our own dream. Maybe we have a right to our own dream. What do we want? We want our languages. We want to plant our gardens. We want our treaty rights. We want to rebuild and recover traditional identities. We want to re-engage with our homelands. We want our own dream, and we're going to be developing it over these next many years. And that's really was the first kind of spark that started the Seventh Generation Fund. Campfire conversations and kitchen table conversations and person-to-person, dialogues that helped people imagine again, I think, and dream again what the Indigenous world could look like. And that was really how the Seventh Generation Fund started. So we started as a grassroots group back in 1977.
That is such a beautiful story. And just thank you for sharing, because I think, again, like just you were talking about, really it was about connecting and about dreaming. And I think that's something that could be easily lost in a time of crisis like this worldwide. People feeling like they're giving up or their spirits being broken, or to stop dreaming. And we talked a lot on this show, like throughout the past few weeks, of the world before COVID-19 and how that isn't the world that we want to step back into. We want to step into a more connected world, because right now, I guess, us being kind of forced to disconnect from each other and to miss that connection and to realize how important that really is and how we didn't appreciate it maybe in our lives before. And now you and I connecting in ways that we may have never. This is a time that's actually, if you use it properly, can bring people together rather than kind of focus on the way that it is keeping us apart. Also, it gives us so much time to learn and to read and to also get passionate about things. Right now it's time to learn about things that you're passionate about, and like you, and you can say, hey, this is what's important to me. I want to protect this vulnerable population, and so I want to start my own foundation, or I want to start doing live streams, connecting with different people. So it's just a time that I love that you said it was about dreaming again, because I think that could be easily lost in a time like this.
Yeah, I think so too. Our organization, we talk a lot about dreaming, probably because of our original seeds. And, going back to your question about our name, it comes from the Great Law of Peace of the Haudenosaunee. And they say, in every deliberation, consider the seventh generation on the impact on the seventh generation to come. Or they'll say, step tenderly on the skin of Mother Earth, because the faces of the unborn generations are turned upward, watching everything that we do. And if that didn't kind of really help us get really not only grounded and rooted with where we are and what we're doing, but if we think about everything that we say and do, our conversation has impacts on future generations. It helps us really clarify that what the real goal in life is to be a good ancestor, right?
Yeah.
How do we be a good ancestor? And how do we fuse that dreaming and that imagination and be better after this pandemic?
Absolutely.
It certainly is a revealing time, right? It's not going to build character. It's just going to show it.
I love what you just said about, what did you say? Like, how did you say the kind of our purpose in life is to be a great ancestor?
To be a good ancestor, people, at this time, I think we have this opportunity to reflect, right? We have this opportunity to reflect. Some of us who have privilege really are able to sit in our homes and able to get groceries and do things like this. And most of the world is not in that situation. Yeah. Many people are stressed. Many people can't access water. Many people can't access food, basic necessities.
And that isn't just in times, this isn't just in this time.
Right.
That isn't just in COVID-19. That's all year round. That some people's entire lives is paycheck to paycheck, wondering when you're going to be able to get access to clean water, get the food that you need, and the healthy and nutritious food that you need. So this is just something that's being brought to a lot of our attentions and a little bit closer into our accessible consciousness and our ideas. Usually we're so busy with our lives and our schedule and our kind of modern way of living that we forget about the little necessities. If you have those accessible in your life all the time, you really, it's easy to lack appreciation for those things that we call the little things, but they're not so little. They're completely essential and, survival. So I think just having this time to think about, man, I'm so lucky to have clean water. I'm so lucky to have a house that provides me shelter and safety so I can keep myself healthy and away from others. And you're right, not everyone does have that. And so just having that awareness, this gives us a lot of time to plan on what we're going to do when we can get back into the world and create some action. So I want to get to one of my questions, because we're just really grateful for you and your colleagues and your grantees who do this work not only during the pandemic like we're talking about, but this is all year round. Mm-hmm. And historically, I know the fund supplies grants for a variety of projects, but I'm interested to learn more about the work that you're doing on the ground and how Native populations are coping with the pandemic. And can you tell us more about some of the health and economic challenges that the community faces, not just in the pandemic, but all the time?
Yeah, sure. Well, the pandemic is, it's like I was saying, it's a revealer. I think it's already revealed the mass disparities of nutrition, of access to resources, of access to rights, to be able to express our full actualization. And it really is revealing the wounds that already exist, I think, in society, right? Some of the, I'm so inspired by the grassroots communities that we work with. We're a grassroots organization, or became, grew from one 43 years ago. But really, our people are so nimble and so capable and inherently powerful that immediately that the pandemic began to be show itself. Even before cases were in Indian country, indigenous communities took action and began to organize ourselves, mostly in village or regionally, right? So a lot of people are in village settings, even including here in the so-called US. And so people have been organizing things like food drives and delivering food to vulnerable community members, particularly elders. I'm thinking about in Africa, our partner, the Indigenous Peoples of Africa Coordinating Committee, EPAC, which is coordinating young people to work with the Maasai communities, with 1,000 of the most vulnerable communities amongst 30,000 Maasai, and activating their young people to learn how to make hand sanitizer and to distribute food and hand sanitizer. We forget sometimes in the so-called Western world that a lot of people don't have running water, including here in the US. People have to haul water. Indigenous women in some places have to walk 5 to 10 miles just to get one bucket of water. So in places where there is no running water, to wash one's hands is, for 20 seconds and happy birthday to me and all that business, it's almost out of the question. So hand sanitizer in places that are really stressed for water. Food systems have already begun to break down all over the indigenous world. And so in Africa, they're really moving things in these little villages all over Kenya amongst the Maasai.
I wanted to ask you, you just mentioned so many things that is needed. What's the best way if people watching right now are inspired by you, inspired by what you're doing, and they want to get involved? How would I tell everyone watching right now to get involved and be a part of the changes that you're trying to make and to supply things like sanitizer or food or water?
Yeah, I would ask, I think the best support is going to say it, the best support is cash. The best support is to directly support our Flickr Fund or the Seventh Generation Fund for Indigenous Peoples. We have a Facebook, we have an Instagram, we have website, as well as to support, if they don't choose us, to choose organizations that are Indigenous led, that have direct relationship and accountability to the indigenous communities that working in. We can't have people helicoptering in and saying, I'm going to save you. What we need is to support the indigenous peoples who are on the ground, frontline, first responders who know what they're doing, who know what the dynamics, the politics, the landscape is, and who can be activated or supported, nourished in the work that they're doing, that they're already doing to support their people. And there's places all over the indigenous world that this is happening, where people are activated and taking action, and things that you don't really hear on the news. You don't hear about Southwest indigenous peoples that are working in Pueblo communities, Hopi and other communities, and they're distributing seeds and helping with the revitalization of traditional seed gardens and agricultural practices, not only for nutritional support, but for spirituality and for culture. There are the distribution of food supplies, sanitation supplies, basic cleaning products. That situation is rampant throughout the indigenous world. There's projects that are working all over that we're supporting. They're translating health and safety and COVID information, pandemic information, in a variety of different indigenous languages, because we're not English-centered or Spanish-centered communities. And that really helps people trust the information and then use that information within their families and communities to protect themselves.
Thank you so much for your time. Everybody, you heard that the best way to get involved is by donating if you can. Any money is the best way to get involved, so it can be distributed in the way that is best. And you're on Instagram, Facebook, Flickr account, so easy to get involved if you've been inspired by today. Thank you so much for being on Bright Minded.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Have a good day.
Thank you so much. Have a good day. So cool. So I would love for anyone that was inspired by that conversation to get involved if you can. Okay. All right, so my second guest, Shirley Raines, is the founder of Beauty to the Streets. I am so excited for the next guest because you may have seen her on the news or on Twitter recently. But Shirley has been serving the homeless on Skid Row in Los Angeles way before the pandemic. And what I love about Shirley's work is that she focuses so much on connection, spending time in conversation with people, and being able to build relationships with each other. So I want to get Shirley on and have her tell us more about her work and what she's seeing on the front lines in LA. Oops. Wait, how do I undo this? Okay. All right, Shirley.
Oh, hey y'all!
Hi.
How y'all doing? I'm so nervous, girl. How you doing?
Do not be nervous at all. No, I am surrounded. I am like so happy to talk to you. I should be nervous to talk to you. All the work that you do. By the way, your makeup is it.
Thank you, child. I got my glasses on, Miley, because I'm old and I can't see, but I gotta wear them while I talk to you.
I love the makeup.
Thank you.
You know what's so great about doing Bright Minded that I really love is it gives me a reason to like get up in the morning, put my face on, put my clothes on, feel like even though I'm, safely keeping myself at a distance in my home, I'm getting to connect with people like yourself that are doing so much, not just during this time of crisis, but all year round. What you're doing is amazing. And it's just inspiring me, right now, because I've had this time to connect and learn about more organizers and people that are doing incredible work. I just can't wait for all of us to connect like in that real world time, but also knowing that we don't have to wait, that everyone watching right now can get involved in their own way.
Absolutely.
And so I just look forward to you kind of telling everyone, luckily I'm here in LA, so we have a chance to connect.
Yes.
IRL at some time.
Yes.
But for right now, safely staying, at each other's distance. But for those around the world, knowing that they can do this in their own communities. The way that you started, Beauty to the Streets is just like so inspiring because this is something that people watching right now can do in their communities as well.
Absolutely.
So I want to talk about your nonprofit, Beauty to the Streets. Can you tell us exactly about the organization, where you work, who you serve, and how did you decide to start Beauty to the Streets?
Okay, well, well, first of all, thank you for having me on, girl. We really appreciate it. Beauty to the Streets is a nonprofit that services Skid Row and the back streets of Los Angeles, California. I started the nonprofit about 3 years ago. I started serving the homeless. I have 6 children, 5 living. I buried my first child. After that, I broke. I was emotionally just destroyed inside, came down with panic disorder, anxiety attacks, had to start taking Prozac. And I just needed to make some kind of sense of this pain that I was feeling and I was carrying around in my life. Like, what is this loss for? What is this pain for? I can't sit here and keep feeling sorry for myself. So what am I supposed to do with all of this pain and hurt? My journey, I'm trying to find something to heal me, led to feeding the homeless with another nonprofit, Polly's Project. And when I went out there, the queens were more interested in my hair and my makeup. They were like, oh, we love your hair and your makeup. I'm like, oh, thank you, queen. I was doing the back streets, the transgender area, and just everything. And, I don't know what it was, but it was an organic connection. As soon as I went out there, I'm like, oh, wow, they're broken just like me. Wow, they need help just like I needed help. And I didn't know how to help myself. I couldn't save my child, but I thought, well, maybe I can give something to these people who are still living instead of continuing mourning the dead. Let me work on the people that are still here and living. And so I began to take out, make hair color that I had left over at home. I cashed in 4,000 points at Sephora, started taking the eyelashes out, still serving with this.
I am obsessed with you.
Really?
This is amazing. This is amazing.
Girl, I had all these points. I got those little bitty bottles of like mascara and started taking it out.
That is
then
the best.
they started knowing me as the makeup lady. And when I would go back, they were like, they didn't have their hair color, but their face was beat. I'm like, okay,
you're like a makeup fairy. You're like just dropping these like amazing, like just so amazing. Because I'm sure so many people that's just to stop you that have things like that you could use, that you could be donating at this once it's safe to. That's just amazing.
Yes.
Way to start it, and to connect with people, like just be their friend and like connect with them in that way. It's so amazing. I always try to find ways that I can do what I want to do and serve the way I want to serve, but in a fun way. A lot of the time when
Absolutely.
people say foundations or organizations or charity, you feel like it's going to be something very serious and
Yes.
heavy, which it is,
Yeah.
but you can bring this like spark and light and energy to it that makes people actually want to be involved. Like next Christmas, you got to come to my friend's place. Heather is on later, who runs my
Okay.
holiday party. It is the most fun. All the homeless youth from LA. It is like the most fun. And like you and I both, like I connect so much about like the amazing makeup and the hair
Yeah.
that I see. And you create these relationships where you can't wait for next year, you know? And when you make
Yeah.
it fun, you get people to want to be involved. And you can create this
Yeah.
amazing like group of people. Like my friends do it with me every Christmas, and it's just the best. So I love the energy you have and the approach you have to it.
Oh, thank you. What's an organic connection? You know, I mean, what woman doesn't feel good when you put on makeup despite your circumstances? You know, heartbreak or loss of a job or problems at home. If you have a best friend, the first thing she's going to suggest is, let's go get our hair done. Let's go get our nails done. Let's go put on, you know, try on some makeup at Sephora or something. So when I went out to the streets, it was really an enlightening experience for myself, because I'm like, oh, y'all want makeup? Well, I can actually do that. You know, I couldn't get them off the street. I can't get housing. That's above me. I don't know how to do that, but I do know how to do makeup. I can help you color your hair. And they weren't using the hair color. And I was like, you don't like it? They're like, we don't have water. I'm like, Queen, I got some water at home. So we started boiling water at home and taking it out there. And because they got to know me as the makeup lady, I expanded it and started my own nonprofit. Now, you know, when you have your nail tech or the person who does your hair, you spend a lot of time talking to them and you make that organic connection. They begin to see you every week and say, girl, how's the job going? Or girl, how's your parents doing? Or what happened to the relationship, Queen? You know, and that's how we get to have that real organic connection about caring about them. I fell in love with them. I already loved them with the love of the Lord. But when I went out there and started doing this work, I felt an organic connection, and they became my bonus family. And I really fell in love with them. Like I love my children and my sister. I love this community.
Oh, and I love you, and I love the work you're doing so much. I just think it is so cool. Like that's exactly what happens. Anytime you do nails, do hair, all of a sudden I start feeling guilty. I'm like, I just use this as like a therapy session. You've saved my roots, and you like saved my like. There's like a part of just. It's so therapeutic to have someone caring for you, and like it reminds me of, you know, my grandma like laying on her lap, and she would always like
exactly.
all of a sudden just start like crying about something that's going on at school that I would have never told my parents, or you just really end up like connecting and just like caring for someone, and it's just such a cool way for you to go. One thing that I learned a lot from from someone really important in my life, Dr. Amen, was don't focus on the list of things that you can't do. Write down what you can do. And if you write down what you can't, accept that. Look for resources that can, but really don't not start because you think that you can't do it. There's so many things you can start doing. It's free to go care for someone or to love someone.
Yeah. We took a lot of criticism when I first started, Miley, though. A lot of criticism. People are like, oh, so you'd rather give them hair and makeup than a house? No, I'd rather them have a house, but I can only do hair and makeup. I can only give what I have to give. You know, I'd rather them go to get therapy and counseling, but since they can't do that, since the resources aren't out there, I've buried a child. I've lost a child's father to death as well. I know how to I've lost a job. I've had a divorce. I've suffered a lot of tragedies that they've suffered. So they can cry on my shoulder because I can give them the same advice that I was given. I'm still here. I'm still breathing. I'm not perfect. I'm broken, but it's okay to be broken. Broken is my new normal. And I feel like with this pandemic, we'll start learning what new normal looks like.
That is so, so awesome. I want to talk about, since you mentioned the pandemic, I want to talk about the current pandemic and how it's affected the community that you serve, and how are you responding, and what would be the best way for people watching to respond? How is this uniquely affecting that community?
I would love to say, well, you know, that community has been affected a long time ago. That's been a community that's been ignored for so very long. This is not the first crisis or virus we've gone through with this community. We were there when typhus outbreak happened. We were there when the chickenpox outbreak happened. You know, COVID-19, people are paying attention to this virus because it's affecting us all now. If it just affected the homeless community, I promise you nobody be talking about it like it is right now. That community has been forgotten and neglected. The disparity of health care, no one comes out there and helps them. So you know, they needed things that we use on a regular basis for their survival. They needed to go in Starbucks and use the bathroom. They needed to go to the first hamburger station they could find and wash their hands. They needed churches and nonprofits like myself to come out and feed them. When COVID-19 happened, all of those resources dried up. And the homeless don't have access to TV and radio like we do. They don't know what's going on. So they get up Saturday morning to go out and get resources, and everything is closed and locked up. They're like, what's going on? And they got to hear through the grapevine, it's a flu out there. They have no education. They're being given no information, no flyers from the health department or anything. They were just completely blind. And they were like, everybody's missing. And so they started DMing me going, Shirley, where are you guys? Like,
That would
what's
be
going
so
on?
scary.
It was scary, and they felt
Terrifying.
abandoned. And we were at home self-isolating and quarantining like the news told us to do. But here I got a whole community. I've been saying for 3 years, let me do your hair. I'm here for you, cry on my shoulder. And then when the rubber meets the road, we bounce because we're going to be concerned about our own safety. That's not how it gets down. When you have a family, you have a family. If you say you're going to take care of that person, I'm from the streets. Your word is your bond, and that's all you have. Character is all you have. Character is shown through times of crisis, not doing hair, not doing makeup, not loving them when times are easy. This is when the rubber meets the road and your character is shown. So immediately when I heard that they weren't getting the resources that they need, my team decided to go back out there, but in a more protective way. Let's not sit up on the corner. It's unfortunate we can't do the hygiene services for them anymore, but child, my nails is tired too right now. You know what I mean? Thank God I color my own hair and I don't have no hair. So we're going without those things. So right now, once again, they're going without those things. They're going without getting their scalp washed and warm water and their nails done. It was nice, and the makeup. It was nice that we were giving it to them. But right now, they're going to have to do like the rest of us and not have it. We'll go back to it. But it was important for us to get down there and pass out the necessary items like hand sanitizer. I can't get my hand. I used to cook for 500 to 800 people in my little one-bedroom apartment here every single Saturday. Can't get access to food anymore because people are hoarding. Can't get access to water because people are hoarding. So we're literally piecing things together so we can go out there and take supplies that they need. Asking our social media family to help us with hand sanitizer, face masks, gloves, whatever you have. When we went out there to decide to serve, we decided, I said, okay, you know, it's best. I work with Fighters for the World, their MC club. I'm like, it's best for us just to serve from our car window. Let's roll the window down and let's, put the bags out. Because honestly, we talk about a 6 to 10 foot distance. No one even comes within 6 to 10 feet of a homeless. When you see a homeless person, most people cross the street. So the reality of them giving it to us is 0 to none. Us giving it to them, however, is more plausible. So we decided to stay in the car and keep ourselves away from them. There's 60,000 homeless people in LA community. No way to do 6 to 10 feet between 60,000 people. It's impossible. So all we could do is educate. But when I went out there, they were all covering their mouths like this with their shirt, but they were reaching through my car window and touching hands. And that's when you hear me on the video saying, don't reach in, I'll reach out. Because I realized by them reaching in, they're cross-contaminating each other's hands. And then I'm like, do you know what's going on? They said, oh yeah, there's a flu out there or something. I go, oh my God, no. So we found ourselves being educators. Okay, this is what it is. Wash between your hands. If you have access, between your fingers, if you have access to water, sing the ABCs 20 seconds, while you're washing your hands. We find ourselves being more of a source of information, not just food.
So what would be a solution? This isn't one of my questions, but I'm really interested. What would be a solution? Because all around the country, America, around the world, like homelessness is a huge issue, a huge crisis. How do you get information to the homeless communities? What would be a creative solution? So, because not everyone gets to meet like angels like you. How do you get that information? Is it
I think that the city should do their job because they're the ones being paid to do their job and to educate and to provide resources. We are secondary. We shouldn't be frontline workers. We should be the secondary. We should be the backup to the city. We're not the frontline soldiers. I'm a mom. I have 5 living children and a sister who worry about me every time I go out the front door. But I also need them to understand that we have a family we have to take care of. I think the city and the health department should pass out flyers. I think they should install more hand washing stations down there. The 9 that I saw down there, probably 4 of them didn't have water. At every hand washing station, they can put a little flyer up, laminated, saying the do's and the don'ts of what COVID-19 is. They can use nonprofits like myself and say, here, let us provide you with some flyers and some pamphlets to hand out since you're going to go down there. The city can also work with the nonprofits and the people who are putting themselves in the front line. Education is just so key. I don't think people really understand, Miley, that they keep thinking it's a them and us thing. COVID-19 doesn't care if you have a building, if you sleep in a tent, if you're Black, if you're white, if you have a job or you don't have a job. It's an equal opportunity disease. It does not care. And if we only provide resources for us, if we only worry about the stay-at-home order for us, how can you stay at home when you're homeless? That's a luxury and a privilege. People are like, well, they need to stay at home. How? They don't have a home. Their streets have been their home.
So now we're talking about our city and what they can do. Now let's talk about the people in our cities. What can the general public do? What would you suggest if they're watching right now and they are just loving you, which I see everyone is? How would people watching right now get involved to Beauty to the Streets? How would they get involved from where we are right now or worldwide?
Okay. Well, you can always go on our Instagram account, click the link in our bio, Super Social Shirley, and it takes you to our website, or you can go to our website, beautytothestreet.org. I understand that right now was very uncertain times and everyone doesn't feel confident to go into the street, and that's okay. In war, we all have our position in place, but we are frontline soldiers. You can send the resources to us. We have Patreon, PayPal, Cash App, Venmo. We do have an Amazon wish list, but most of the items are no longer available on the wish list because of the hoarding. But people can absolutely, if you're at home and you're making masks, we have a P.O. box that's linked to our website, beautytothestreet.org. They can mail homemade face masks to us. If you have an extra box of gloves over there, and pretty soon when things are back to normal, if you got some extra makeup queen laying around, if you got some hair color you bought once but you don't like it, send it on down, child. Somebody else will use that and love themselves for it. But we are frontline soldiers. It's not easy to go out there. I understand, human survival is something that kicks in. And going out there, like I say all the time, it doesn't make us heroes. It makes us human. We've been human for so very long. We've been taking care of this community, which we love, for so very long. And I wish there were other resources out there for them so I could self-isolate, so my team could self-isolate and we can feel safe, and I don't wake up every time I get a tickle in my throat and think, oh my God, what's going on? Because I don't go anywhere. I wish. But wishing is for shooting stars and birthday cakes, and that's not happening right now. So somebody's got to go out there and continue to love up on them the way we have been. And then when all this is over, we're going to have a big old block party, child, because their hair is tired right now, Miley. You should see them, girl. Half of the blue is all faded out there. Like, I need my hair colored, and I'm still trying to tell them, Queen, I can't do it right now. We're in a pandemic. We'll get back to you soon.
I want everything you said on a t-shirt or written on my mirrors to remember, because I do think a lot of the time, from afar right now, we don't think we have a lot more than just our thoughts and our prayers, which are really, really important. But it's also, it's important to send out our good energy and send out love but it's also really important to take action. And I love that you took action. I know that you're praying for the people that you work with in your family. And I know that there's a spiritual element, but there's also an active part of this, of making actual change. And something we've talked about on this show over and over and over again is we don't want to go back to the pre-COVID-19 world and existence. That wasn't perfect. That was far from it. And I think it's really important that we all have this time to connect in this way and go, listen, when things get back to it, how you said, when you can get back to coloring the hair, get back to when we can get back to really connecting, having that list of organizations that we love the way that they handled this crisis and dedicate ourselves in the world when it goes back to the way that it can, where we can physically put ourselves with other people. And I love the idea that what Beauty to the Streets is about making people feel beautiful, feel like their truest selves. But just listening and connecting and letting them know that you love them and that you're there for them. It's just, I love the idea of connection.
I think, on a personal level for me, the thing that really pulls my heart to them is maybe you can't fix everything, but you can be there for that person. The hardest experience you'll ever have to do is bearing a child. And there was nothing I could do to save my child. All I could do at that final moment was just tell him how much I loved him. And that's all I could give. That's all I had to give. I knew on a spiritual level he would be fine, but I knew I would miss him. And all I had to give was the words, I love you. And that was good enough. And he said it back, and we have really worked so hard to gain the love of this community. And it saddens me that people, don't see them as vitally important. They are human beings, and we don't have to keep continuing to suffer the loss of these people. They are somebody's children and mother. They once worked with you. They once had kids that went to school with you. They just fell on hard times, and we are so much closer to them now than we ever were before because of this pandemic.
And
coming back from this is going to be hard for people.
And a lot of people are going to experience loss or have experienced
Absolutely.
loss. They
Absolutely.
will lose people that they've loved. And so, like you said, you have to take time for yourself to mourn, to feel it, to process.
Yeah.
So you can have this, like, the way that you said, okay, now I can't change that, but I can change how I'm living now. And I
Correct.
can honor their life by
Correct.
doing work in their name. And
Correct.
so I think for anyone watching right now that has someone that is sick or experiencing COVID-19 directly within their family or their friendship circle or partners, losing someone you love, it's so hard, but keeping their spirit here by honoring them and saving more lives is an incredible way to process pain. And so I just think you're such a light. I want to thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
I love you. I cannot wait until I can get involved even more. Happy Hippie and Beauty to the Streets. We have a lot in common, so I'm really excited.
Thank you. I was so excited when I saw your DM. I'm like, Miley Cyrus. Oh my God, I was so excited. So thank you so much for the platform. Thank you for your awareness that you're bringing to the homeless community. And we do look forward to working with you when we get back to our new normal.
I can't wait. Thank you so much.
Okay, bye. Have a blessed one. Bye, guys.
Shirley's the shit. That was amazing. Okay, so now for my final guest. I am very excited because our last guest may even be familiar to some of you because we've been working together through Happy Hippie for almost 5 years, maybe even a little more. And I'm just so honored to have my friends Heather and Aaron from My Friend's Place with us today. Happy Hippie and My Friend's Place partnered up in 2014, and we've been helping support MFP's work with youth experiencing homelessness in Los Angeles. My Friend's Place has seen an increase in people coming for help in the past few weeks. So whether that's just for basic needs, items like food or clothing, support services, I'm really glad that Heather and Aaron have taken their time today to talk more about this pandemic and how it's affecting the youth that they serve and ways that we can help and Happy Hippie can continue to help. So let's get Heather and Aaron connected now. My friends!
Hi, Miley!
I am happy to see that you're taking social distancing. Like, look at this.
Yes, we tried. We normally have our masks on, but that was just going to be too complicated for this moment. But every moment we're mentoring for the young people what it means to be taking care of ourselves and one another.
So where are you all at? Are you at My Friend's Place right now? It looks like you're in the studio.
Yes, we're in the Happy Hippie studio. There's no better place to be right now than to be speaking with you in a space that you have loved, supported, and young people have created endlessly in.
That was one of my proudest moments, was getting to walk through the studio with my dad at the Happy Hippie Christmas party. You're lucky my dad is left-handed, though, because all the guitars are right-handed, because he's, like, looking at them all. He's like, you got these? Like, can you do a studio at my place? Like, look at all these guitars. And I know he wanted to play so bad, but my dad is, like, everything is opposite. He's such a unique person. And he's only, one of the only left-handed guitar players I've ever met. Otherwise, you would have never gotten him out of the studio and actually, like, serving the young people. He just would have been jamming and recording, and he had such a good time. And like, it was so cool for me to show my dad how many creative young people come to My Friend's Place on the daily. And when you think about a music studio being essential, to somewhere like My Friend's Place, you don't really think about it until you get to see the youth actually in action and using it and what they're creating and how amazingly talented so many of the young people really are and why it was so important for My Friend's Place to have a studio.
Yeah, that Christmas celebration and being able to, for young people to really be able to demonstrate how meaningful the relationship is to you and Happy Hippie, and to be able to share their extraordinary talents. Definitely, that's going to last a lifetime for many of us.
And not just musicians and artists, but you have like amazing creators and so, like amazing painters, so many amazing talented like young people in My Friend's Place. Every time that I've gotten to be there, I've just really connected so much to the artistry that you all support too, because it's super important. Being from Nashville, working with Oasis, who I was telling you about in Nashville, which I love because music is such a part of my culture and community also, and my upbringing. So I just love how you support the artistry of these young people. I want to talk about the work that you do, and My Friend's Place is an essential service, so you have stayed open during this time. How is the pandemic affecting your young people who can't shelter at home or may not even have access to places to safely wash their hands? How has this changed My Friend's Place, and how have you adapted?
Yeah, in so many ways, so many things have changed. But like you said, we are here and providing connection and a whole wealth of services for young people, but also the older adult community right now. So yesterday we saw 170 people providing food, clothing, hygiene supplies. But for the young people, it's been really interesting. Some young people are really taking this in and understand the magnitude of the health crisis. But for many young people, this is just yet another crisis. So many of the young people have been for so long existing in a place of disconnection, lack of community, lack of resources, feeling so impacted by homophobia and racism. So those are ever present kind of experiences. So then you add this pandemic into that. They're like, but nothing has changed other than you and the community are even less connected to me now. So that is a real break your heart moment for us. Is we're showing up, we're at that front gate, we're doing everything we can, but we know that the community space that My Friend's Place provides really is like wrapping our arms around them and getting that relationship that is so necessary for young people to be even able to like look at the opportunities that we can afford, the community can afford, so that they can consider something different. So that's now at arm's distance, right? And arm's distance for young people that are craving that connection for survival. I think this is a really, really tough time in ways that most of us can't even understand.
Yeah. I wanted to, hold on one second. I think well, let me see if this is back. We're just freezing. I'm going to request me one more time.
Okay, hang tight.
It just started freezing at the end, but we got everything, so that is perfect. You were talking about you were talking about right now. My Friend's Place is usually about kind of like just really connecting and like embracing. And since that's a challenge right now, what is an immediate need? What can My Friend's Place provide? How can people that are watching get involved and help? I know that there's kind of some limitations also with donations right now. So can you talk about that?
Yeah, we're really trying to be creative and about how we keep our community engaged and feeling compelled by caring for the young people and the community at large. There's a few things, right? Is the demand moving from, we were seeing about 80 young people a day pre-COVID, and now seeing 170 people. We're trying to keep socks, underwear, clothing, food, hygiene supplies. So there's an Amazon wish list on our website that people can go in and send us a pair of socks, a pair of underwear, and that means a lot to the person that's receiving it, because you had mentioned, there aren't enough hygiene like wash stations in the Hollywood area. There are some. So whatever we can do to keep a person feeling a little bit more comfortable in their body so that they can digest the information about how to protect themselves is super important. We've established a COVID-19 emergency relief fund here at my friend's place. Folks can follow us on all of our social media. But I think what's really important is, as we are all growing fatigued by having to stay away from one another or stay indoors, is really to recognize that there is great privilege in taking care of ourselves and other people. And there are folks that don't actually have that opportunity. There are people that are getting on the bus every day to get to what is no longer the nearest resource to go to work, our frontline medical care folks. Like, there's a lot going on. So keeping ourselves in check and finding where we can contribute and take care of our community. So I know you've got folks following you like throughout the world, and we know that there are people in every community that are in need. So taking a moment to jump online and learn who's struggling in your community and how can you participate. We've just recently tried to change. We are only asking for new clothing because that is safest to put folks into new clothing. But we're trying to devise a whole new, like, wash your clothing with a mask and gloves, bag it, tie it, come in, let us know. So there are lots of ways people can start getting creative, not knowing how long this is going to last. We have to continue to care.
That's kind of what I was asking when I was talking about too, about like the kind of like you're a little limited with what you can take in, since you are seeing so many people and safety is so important. So the best thing is to do the Amazon wish list, right? So newer is better. But you're starting to look into ways of washing with masks, gloves, sanitize, since not everyone is actually in a place where they can buy new things for people.
Yeah.
Everyone is struggling financially right now. And then so the best way to stay updated with that is by going to your social platforms, and you all will keep everyone updated of how you're going to how my friend's place is going to adapt, right?
Yes. Because we're going to continue to have to adapt to meet the needs for an ever increasing number of people that are coming to the streets. As folks are being discharged from jail, some folks don't have anywhere to go. Right thing to get them out of an institution that really you can't do the social distancing. But we already know there have been young people who have been released and don't have family to go back to, or families are way too concerned about bringing somebody into the environment that hasn't been tested. So by doing right by the collective does not always do right by the individual. And we're trying to figure out how we're going to pivot and how we're going to continue that care and that extension of care.
I really think that makes a lot of sense, what you just said. That the individual is it's so easy to kind of focus on problems, especially problems that are worldwide and affecting everyone. You look at this like huge problem and you go, there's nothing I can do. But if you actually look at it as every person, that we were talking about this on the show a couple days ago, that there's so many numbers and so many statistics daily that you kind of start thinking in numbers, which then you lose connection. That every time you see a rising number of death or infection, that's a person, that's a loved one, that's a friend. And so it's really important for us to not think and feel in numbers, but in one at a time.
Yeah, no, I so appreciate that, right? We're surrounded by, every day feels, I just say perilous, and the potential tragedy. And there are people who are watching right now who have already been impacted by that tragedy. So it's really important that we know that this is a super personal pandemic, and care for one another, do everything we can, and support those that are on the front lines to ensure that folks who don't have access and care and food are able to take care of themselves to the best of their ability. No more than now do we really understand how collectively connected we are.
Absolutely. And now I'm really, really bad at surprises. So I'm getting to the part that I've been wanting to get to from the beginning. So you guys know how much I love you too. Aaron, thank you for being here so much. Heather, you and I have gotten to spend a lot of time together over the last few years. And they're just times that I really cherish, you know, from being in the My Friend's Place parking lot to being at like Variety Women in Power galas. So like we've really seen the full spectrum. And you were just like, if people say goals, like someone you want to be like or someone you aspire to be like is goals. Like you are goals. You are really what it means, I think, to like live your best life, because your dedication is just inspiring and you're just a hero of mine in a major, major way. And the whole staff and the young people you serve have just made such an impact on my life. It's easy to like think that Happy Hippie has done something for My Friend's Place, but My Friend's Place has really done something for Happy Hippie and for me. And like I can never repay you for just the lessons that I learn every time I'm standing in your parking lot. And we just have such a special place. My Friend's Place has such a special place in my heart because we've had this history over the last few years. So I know you had to cancel your annual gala, which is happening in a few weeks, and that was a big fundraising loss. So Happy Hippie just wanted to acknowledge that and to get involved. And so as a way to celebrate Heather's 20 years of service to My Friend's Place, Happy Hippie and I are making a donation for $20,000 to help you during this time of crisis. So I just want to thank you for all that you do.
Whoa.
And it's an honor to partner with you.
Miley.
I'm so excited.
Well, Miley, so I'm going to jump in here. Per usual, you had everyone crying, and I mean, you know, Miley, your support and dedication to us means the most. But I just want to echo some of what you said. Like, you and I share deep affinity for Heather, and you know, the idea that she is someone to aspire to be like. But you know, part of what I would just want to say about this whole How My Friend's Place is handling this pandemic is that we are handling it under Heather's leadership, right? Which is, we do right. At every opportunity, we just do right. And I think, right, it's hard sometimes to remember that there is going to be life after COVID-19. And if, you know, if the question is like, who do we want to be when we get out of this crisis, we want to be the organization, like you said, that people look to and say, wow, My Friend's Place under Heather's leadership really did right. We really continue to invest in the young people. Like this is just new context, right? These are young people. We are always concerned about issues of access and the way that they are marginalized and the way in which public policy doesn't consider them. Like this is the stuff we're made of. And we know safety and survival. This is kind of a different context to really appreciate all of that. But you know, the soul of My Friend's Place under Heather's leadership to do right and to make sure that nobody is left out, like that's what we're doing. And that's where we could use your support. And thank you so much for the support you just gave in honor of this amazing moment.
And I think it's super important, something you just said, that this isn't something that My Friend's Place isn't an essential service just during COVID-19. That means My Friend's Place is essential to young people in Los Angeles all year round, 365. And I see that firsthand when I'm standing there with all of the staff. All of the staff is just like incredible. And you're right, Heather just leads in such an amazing way. And it's just really inspiring for any of us who want to be leaders to look at you in the way that you do that. And it's just amazing to be a little part of My Friend's Place. So thank you. I see your wheels turning about like, what you're going to do next.
But Miley, like, right, is we are only as strong as those that stand beside us. And you, the moment you stepped into My Friend's Place, you became a part of our team. And you and your team have fallen in step with the young people, with My Friend's Place. Your leadership now internationally is bringing attention and care to very vulnerable folks in the community. So this is not about me, it is about the we and what we as human beings really have the opportunity to do. So we are Happy Hippie, you are My Friend's Place, and we just totally love and adore, and thank you for your generosity of love and spirit, because this is us.
Yes, and we are definitely one. So you know, we never hesitate. We're always talking, and never hesitate to tell me what you need. I can talk to my fans also who, like, I think what we've done from the beginning with My Friend's Place is Happy Hippie is allow my fans and for myself to see ourselves in the young people, to relate and to connect. And I think that's what we've really done from the beginning. I love what you said. It's not about me, it's about we. And a lot of these young people can be mirrors for ourselves. Like when I go to My Friend's Place, even though my life and my circumstances are so different from some of the kids standing in the parking lot, we're not really that different at all. Like our love of music is enough to connect us. A lot of, you know, people that you'll even see, I'm sure now are like very close, if not my age. You know, we were talking with Shirley about like, even if it's just, oh my God, I love your hair color. Oh my God, I love yours. It's like enough to create this like moment and connection that is a healer on both ends, like on my side and on their side, and learn from me and I learn from them. Like it's just, I think what makes My Friend's Place special and why it's always been important that Happy Hippie stays dedicated to the work that you're doing is it's really just a reflection of what's always been my goal for what my foundation would represent. And it's just, you know, acceptance, non-judgment, like the doors are just so wide open and like you just feel this sense of acceptance and like family. And I feel that anytime I'm there, and just that relatability. And I, like you said, the we-ness of it, you know, that it's so we. And as much as it is about the individuals, then it becomes about this family that you create. So I just want to thank you so much for taking care of, you know, you guys aren't that far from me, from where I live. Being in LA, being able to know that you're here, just makes me feel safer and protected, because I know that these young people are going to be loved by you or fed or clothed or get one of your supporting services, whether that's getting to talk to counselors. Like I just feel so good knowing that you're in my area.
And it's crazy too, right, Miley? Like, I mean, you know this because you've met and impacted so many of them. But, you know, when we're on the front lines and we're providing the essential services and it's heartbreaking to not have the doors open. Like, we miss the young people being in the space, recording in the studio, doing the art, taking the shower. Like, it's really hard to not have our doors fully open. But when we're on the front lines and providing those services, the last thing that's said is not by staff. It's by young people telling staff to stay healthy, to stay up, to stay positive. Like that reciprocal nature of caring for one another, it's so present right now. And they are amazing. They are amazing. And we're just, yeah, we can't wait that when we can kind of bring them in closer. Like, I don't ever want to like air hug again. Like, get you into my arms.
Yeah.
That's what we want.
Absolutely. Thank both of you. I just want to thank both of you for your hard work. It's just complete tireless dedication. And thank you, thank you, thank you. And if anyone wants to get involved, they can go to Happy Hippies Instagram, because you'll find My Friend's Place there, or My Friend's Place on their socials to get involved also. So thank you so much for taking care of LA and just dedicating yourself. Thank you so much.
Thank you for taking care of us, Miley.
Bye. Thanks. Bye, guys. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in to Bright Minded. And please do what you can to support My Friend's Place, support Beauty to the Streets, and the 7th Generation Fund for Indigenous people, whether it's please support, whether it's $1 or sharing their message. Just every bit helps, especially during this time. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow for Thursday's episode of Bright Minded Live with Miley. Bye, everyone.